Hey, what's up everybody? Before I get started here, in the description of this video, I'm going to have links for all the files, as you can't just go to the Google or Apple store where you normally download them on your phone or whatever. You have to get on your computer or your phone and search around on Google or whatever and find them on other sites, which for some of them, easy enough, is I'm not just going to give you the files for this thing and the updated-ish one, which basically is the same thing, just a different game and different controllers. They redid this in 2019 and did a Marvel superheroes game for it, where you got totally different controllers. You got two of them that are like a grip controller. Anyways, I found a link to get the files for that too. And as far as I know, I'm pretty sure on what I got for this, everything is the most up-to-date with all the goodies. So whatever would have been included when they finally just called it quits. Which I'm still trying to find everything that's on this. I've tried a few of them, ish. Is it still experimental here on trying to get it to work right with my phone, but I'm having success. And other than those files, I also found sites to download the APK files for my Hasbro R2D2 that's phone-based droid, and also my DO that's a phone-based droid, the one that balances on its own. It's really cool. I know they took the R2 one off a bit ago. I think they might have done the same thing with Dio. They kept that on a little longer, but I think it's not on Google at least anymore. It might be on Apple. This is for anybody that's got Android. On Apple, I've never had an iPhone. Otherwise, may have to do something totally different and either recheck these sites to see if they got it also for Apple, or just do a search, man. That's pretty much what I did, was get on Google and just search for the APK files. And also these other files that are called OBB, which is basically what it installs when you initialize the APK file app and start it up for the first time. And if you do it wrong, it will let you know. It will just come up top because they don't exist anymore and say cannot download, which that's where you got to do all the manual stuff, so it thinks you downloaded it already. Otherwise, like I say, all that will be in the description. On the phone that I was able to use, and I'm thinking the reason why it's working is because my phone came out in 2018, and this came out in 2017, so newer than the phones that it's showing. And this is where the program is a little glitchy. They never fix anything. You guys know that already. Anybody that's into gaming, they never fix it completely. So it does get a little glitchy to where it frees up sometimes, or you got to shut your phone off and start it again. So it could be, as a lot of these stupid phone app type games, depending on what phone you have, is how good it's going to work. Otherwise, at least I'm using a newer phone than the system, and I'm having success. So I just got to have a nice work area to have more success. But I'm getting there. As I can see a lot of reasons why this didn't go over. One, I'm in a manufactured home. I have my Mercedes parked outside. My Lexus is in the back. Because it's a manufactured home. That's a new word for mobile fucking home. Otherwise, they expect you to be in a house with a lot of space, like a big living room, so you can clear out 6 feet is what it wants you to have, or more, or whatever. Maybe 3, I don't know. It's kind of confusing in the book, but for me, it seemed the further away, the better. Too close up, and everything was like right here. So there's something right there, people. If it's not working for you, try moving the orb a little further away from you. Make your distance bigger until it just looks right. That's the problem I'm having with it right now. Otherwise, what I have is a Moto E5 Play from 2018. And on these files, let's see, I can't get on the websites here because of this damn video editing program. Otherwise, I think it was APK Monk that had the files for Jedi challenges. Or just to give you an idea of the size, and this is the size before you install, so definitely have some space on your phone. The APK is 41.2 megabytes, and then the OBB file is 838 megabytes. And then the APK, I just put it in the downloads folder on my phone and just install it from there. On the OBB, you got to know where to put it, and it's also got to be in its own special folder, which I think I got lucky on that, to where I tried to find a site explaining the process of doing it all manual like this. They were saying, no, put the OBB file in a folder first, doesn't create the folder that it needs, and then install the APK. I went backwards and installed the APK, ran the program up to the point where it says it can't download, and then I noticed in the folder it made a file for the OBB that it was going to download, but just empty. So all I had to do is take the OBB file, hence this is flat out the OBB file. It's not in a folder, it's not zipped up or anything. And then just move it into that folder. And boom, everything freaking worked. Same thing with the Marvel one, which on that, I think the APK is either a little bit bigger or closer to maybe 50 megabytes. And then the OBB was over a gig. Much bigger files because newer games, so probably way more advanced on graphics and stuff. Or maybe it just does more, I don't know. Otherwise, for the OBB, go into your phone on your folders and everything. You want to go into the Android folder, and then you'll see when it says OBB, and a lot of your games and stuff or whatever. And same thing with my files for the droids. I'll go in there, and then you'll see folders that are like Disney, Hasbro, whatever. And I was trying to go on the actual file name of the OBB, but the folder, it's been shrunk down where it starts from com, not like blah blah blah.com, just com and then so much of it. But I just can't remember the chop off point. Some of you guys may be able to figure out better, man. I haven't done this in a long time. What do you think? You're not. Yeah. Pissed off 24/7. Typical black cat. Full of rage. Rage. There. Massage it out. Otherwise, right off the bat with this thing on my feelings on it, on why I didn't go over, mainly you need a bit of space. And pretty much on comparing it, it's definitely got some of the aspects of regular VR as you're looking at a stereoscopic image, but then with the AR, it's basically reflecting the image that your phone puts out onto a mirror, kind of periscope-like, has that prismatic effect to where you can see through the lenses in front of you, as this is something where you can walk around the room and see, as it's transparent, but they got that reflective silver film on them, kind of like what you'd have on sunglasses, where it's got that reflective tint so people can't see your eyes, kind of the same thing. So it's giving you a mirrored image, but you can see through it, giving the effect like the spaceships and stuff are floating around in your room. Where with VR, it's creating everything, man. You're literally in another freaking world. This, it's putting the world in your manufactured home. So, it's just, because maybe it's a manufactured home, my world is a little, because everything's kind of just wonky because it needs a lot of space. I think they were going by meters. Maybe that was it. I got everything that came with it, man. It wasn't saying feet, and I think it was starting at 3 feet up to maybe 6.5 for how much you want to have this thing away from you. And it could rely on height too. I'm 6'2", so having it 3 feet away, man, that's not enough. Because I was just sitting here having it on the floor about 3 feet away from me, and everything was like right here. That's where you may want to play around with that if you're having a problem, depending on your height. I found a teardown video, which you can find teardown videos of the VR, augmented reality visor, and also the lightsaber controller for anybody who wants to know how to tear that down. But the one that I found on the visor, the guys were trying to explain how it works or how they figure it works, which got your little beacon here, and then the visor itself has camera, to where you're doing that triangulation thing. So this is your point in the room, and then you got so much room to play around it. Where I could see how you could step out of that, which I was finding that out too. If you step out of that little field of space and it doesn't like it, oh, it'd get wonky as hell. I had it to where it looked like everything was way up here on any of the little screens and stuff. Otherwise, if you stay within that little space and use some freaking tape, have a play area for it or whatever, and just stay within that area. That seemed to do okay pretty much if I stayed within the area. But once you step out of it or walk off and come back, you're going to have to start it up again. So it's got its problems, but it's still really fucking cool, man. It's trippy as hell. I'm definitely glad I got it. So on the lightsaber here, right off the bat for you cosplayers, oh, definitely on this. Definitely try and find a teardown video. They'd only show how to gut it and then put it back together, I believe. Said, here's what it looks like. And no, it's not metal. It is plastic. They just did a damn good job on this with the chrome. I mean, looking at this and looking at my Master Replica sabers, you'd never know it was plastic until you pick it up and realize how light it is. But on this tip, looks like there's a plastic sleeve. It's round under this that has ridges on it that this grabs onto, so you can't just pull it off without tearing it or whatever. But let's see. I don't know how many screws they had to take out on this, and they're all well hidden. I mean, say for cosplays, this looks nice. They hid the screws and stuff well. Otherwise, the little red thing that's supposed to be a button isn't. But that looks like they just pulled it out, and there's a screw hidden under that. And then they pulled out this, which is a button, and there's a screw or two hidden under there. And not all the grips, but I think a couple of the grips or so towards the ends here, you got to peel them up or whatever, have a screw. These screws here, I don't know if you got to take them out or not. Otherwise, you can see, hang it from a belt for cosplay. And on getting this powered up, this and the headset has the usual built-in battery that they don't want you to replace things, so when it dies you can just go buy a whole new freaking toy. But for us people that like to take shit apart, I don't know if the guy that did the teardown video of this showed what the battery looks like, but it looks like the headset, if you're good at tearing stuff down and putting it back together, that looked like a regular cell phone-ish type battery that could be replaced if you wanted to go through the processes. It's a bit of a process, but they said it's pretty teardown friendly. Just a lot of little screws and stuff you can lose. In fact, it almost looks like it uses little tiny Allen wrench type screws, where this, I believe, was possibly Phillips. So these on here, yeah, they're just rounded out, so I think they're just cosmetics just to add to the look of it. Otherwise, on buttons, all you have is this button and this button. And then when you first turn it on, yeah, I still got a little bit of a charge. shows white. And then when it pairs with your phone, which that was fun, is you can't just go into your phone and turn on your Bluetooth and have it pair up. I forget what permission it is, but it's one of the permissions on your phone that has to do with Bluetooth, to where you have to allow it, and then it will do its thing. Otherwise, when you're trying to pair it up within the app, it'll show your Bluetooth is on, but when you hold down the button or press it or whatever that it wants you to do, it'll just stay white. It won't do its thing. But once you give the phone that permission or whatever, this will just turn blue. Also, because it's the updated app, it's got it to where you can use the Kylo Ren version of this, which that, it worked-ish. It could be because I was sitting down and not standing up, but it will show Kylo Ren's saber, and then you got to match this up with it by just getting it moved in the right direction. That was wonky as hell until I stood up or restarted or something, to where it was literally pointed at me like this on the hilt. And it just showed the top of the hilt, and then you just got to line it up with it. Maybe it's because this isn't the Kylo Ren saber. It's just trying to get it in there right, and it's just going to be off, which is their way of marketing, promotion, whatever, to where they're trying to piss you off so you'll spend more money and buy the fucking Kylo Ren saber for this thing, which that appears to be expensive. This and the other one, this one's kind of hard to find unless you get on eBay. The other one that's for the superheroes, oh man, I think it was under $30 on Amazon. I found a place that had like 18 of them left in it. It was like $30 or whatever. So cheap enough. I think that's how you have to get the other kinds of controllers, unless you find somebody that's just got the controllers on eBay. Is you got this one, you got the Kylo Ren, and then you got the superhero ones. Otherwise, if you get it into bad guy mode, this will turn red. So it does have the changing colors. Just like PlayStation Move or PlayStation VR. Hint on some of the way this thing works. And why you have to have a pretty dark room. Not too dark, but dark enough to where you can still walk around, but be able to see things. But it definitely needs a dark room, which I haven't really tried yet. I think that's some of it on why this thing goes out of sync. That's the same problem with the PlayStation Move and everything, to where if your room's too lit, those cameras have a harder time seeing this, and they're going to pick up reflections off of every fucking thing and have anything reflective out of the way too. Just treat it like you're playing PlayStation Move or PlayStation VR if you have that, man. You don't want anything reflective that those cameras on the helmet can pick up. Otherwise, cool. Freaking cool. Got to play around with some of the lightsaber stuff. Where I got to take out Kylo Ren on just the test type thing. And then, let's see. There were some droids, but that's when it was fucking up. So I lopped off their legs. So now they're triple droids. Because they were like way up here because if I was sitting. I think some of it, too, it wants you standing. That's something maybe you guys can answer it for me. Can you be sitting when you play this thing and have it work right? Is there a trick to that or what? But so far, it sounds like you need to stand up, which I've had arthritis since I was a kid, man. Standing up still and moving around in just a spot, not walking like through a store or whatever, it wipes me out fast. I've got arthritis in the feet, so... This thing will last me for fucking ever because I won't last long playing it. Otherwise, I say, that's cool. But when I was sitting, it's like it was wanting to put everything way up. Any of the characters, their head was up here to where it was just showing about this much of the body. So female characters, you could stare at their holographic boobs. So you got that going for you. But you have no idea who it is on the holographic boobs that you're staring at, or I got a sick mind. Otherwise, on with the show. on phones, the way this thing works now on the app, as far as I'm concerned, if your phone fits in this, as long as it's not too small but fills the space needed, go for it. See if it'll work. As long as your phone's new enough and fits in here good, go for it and see if it'll work. Because I found on the app, when if you don't have a phone that's in the list, it will just say phone not listed, and then it will give just the names of phones and a couple of arrows, and you just keep going through to either find a good match or even better, which is what I finally did, is take this out for you guys so you can see what I'm talking about here. Got this cartridge that slides into it that holds your phone facing downwards, and then you got to plug it into this thing, which that was fun. The plug just fits for me. I don't know if it's because of my phone or just the way they did it, man. It fits tight on the whole bending the wire thing, but got it working. Otherwise, got this thing, and see that cutout there? Depending on your phone, they really want you to have a phone to where you can make the screen size as big as this cutout. So anyways, if your phone's not listed, it's got it to where you can just do custom. And that, at first it didn't want to do it, and then every other time, no problem. So I don't know what's up with the app. It is glitchy. But once you can do it, it will just have some little sliders with arrows, just like it's showing for the other phones, but you can manipulate them and drag them with your finger to get everything fitting in there, and then you just save it. So that makes it a lot better, instead of just trying to pick one out, because I couldn't find anything other than the Moto Z, which top and bottom here, it fit, but the sides were just a little bit of space. So because this works like VR on showing it for the 3D effect, you get any space in there and you're going to see like a little edge of the picture where it's just going to throw it off. You want to have it all filled in good. On smaller phones, I guess it just does it different. I don't know, because it shows it to where you can have a pretty small screen on the phone depending on what you got. I've almost thought of just trying that, acting like I have a smaller phone, just to see if it gets anything my level, hence the whole sitting down thing, because it's going to change the whole perspective on screen, so maybe that'd work. Just pick a smaller screen from the list that's nice and centered and see if that'll work for people that have to sit down. And then also, I'm going to open it up here to show you guys. They got it set up to where not only does this hold the phone in tight, you got these little clippy things here, which mine say it fits, but it's more on the thickness. It pushes up on these a bit, just enough to where it just got a little bit of the end sticking out on top. So when I put it in the thing, I got to push down with my finger on it. Otherwise, it does fit. But that's just to hold it in place good. Otherwise, they got these sliders here, which you can move back and forth. It gets it all crunched up and pushed to the one side here. And also, you got this little thing that you can flip in or out to where out would be for the biggest freaking phone, which is what I'm using, and then in is for just a smaller phone. So it gives you a lot of play for different phone sizes. It says get on the original site for this. I believe they list all the phones that it originally worked with for anybody that can afford those goddamn phones, because they're all expensive ones, like Apple phones and stuff, which I have never had, and other types that were just expensive at the time. But I cannot find a newer list showing all the phones, man. It was a lot of them. So they've added on quite a few, probably since they got the newer one out. They've just added them to the app for this also. So it's a little bit more compatible. Otherwise, yeah, you'd put your phone in and then plug would be there. And it's like the little plugs, being that my phone has the usual plug that your chargers have. So I use the plug that's got the same end on each end. It's just a little wonky on how they did it on this, to where I gotta just get almost like a little S bend, as it's not rounded wire, it's flat, so you can bend it, but man, it fits a bit tight. Not so tight that it's gonna snap off the plugs, but it's pretty freaking tight. And it takes you through all the steps. It's kind of like you got to run through most of the steps and get it up to the point where you click launch, and then it tells you to put your phone in this and get it all connected. And then once you do that, you just press a button on the lightsabers or on one of the hand controllers, or I think even on this or whatever, as it does have buttons. And then that initializes the game. And that's something too, to where I don't know if it's the games or my phone or what. Sometimes these three buttons will do stuff. Other times it's like they don't do anything. And some of that I think is because I was losing stuff. It's like I was trying to figure out how to go back to the main menu, and then I got just enough to where it's like, why do I have this big yellow orb floating above my head where I can just see the bottom of it? But I found that's what you look at and click on or whatever to go back to the previous menu or whatever. But I thought it was supposed to be where you could press one of these buttons to go back. But I found some of the games, these buttons do the same thing that you would do on your controller, for like pressing the top one, that's the little round one on the lightsaber, or the one on its side to like go forward or back or whatever. I'm totally ignoring that because it's probably a freaking telemarketer again. It's probably Buntu wanting to sell me some car insurance from very far away. Or not. Yep, it's Buntu again. Oh, now it's Joseph from very far away. I love it when they get into a conversation with your answering machine. That job sucks. I feel sorry for him, but then I don't, because I'm an asshole. Unless I knew that. I get it every freaking day. So anyways, yeah, these buttons, it's kind of wonky. In fact, just closing out the game, the only way I can do it is just take it out, get everything disconnected, and just turn it off manually on the phone. I can't figure out how you're supposed to go back and just shut it down like you would with any other type of cell phone game, to go back to your phone's main screen. So, doesn't hurt anything, it's just a pain in the ass. Otherwise, yeah, it ain't gonna show good. Kind of see the lenses in there. It's reflecting the bottom of it. That's why you see that big gap in the middle. It's reflecting where your nose would be. But it is split in the middle, just like your lenses on a VR thing, but more like your Google Cardboard, where got lens, and then just a very small little gap in between, where a lot of your other newer VR stuff, like PSVR and whatnot, and my HTC Vive lenses are a little further apart. Which, before I forget, hint on something else I tried, which, if you're in the experimental phase, have somebody you hate in the room, but not in your room, in their room, because cleaning up vomit sucks, but have them try it. Sharing is caring. One thing I was trying to do before I realized the program worked, is before I downloaded anything, is I was trying to figure out what I could do with this if I couldn't run the program. That's watching 3D movies here on YouTube or whatever, where it's the stereoscopic. And I got one to where, oh man, there's so many different types now, I can't remember which setup it was on the lenses, but it was pretty damn close. Man, any of them that were off a bit, where you were seeing a double image, hint on some of it what would mess people up that they've gotten better since Oculus Metamucil Quest. Anyways, that's a lot of what triggers the all over the freaking floor or whatever. Is if you start feeling sick or just kind of just woozy, take it off, man. You're right on the edge of getting nausea to where you could throw up. Because it will trigger nausea, but I could see this possibly being used for watching 3D movies online in a very weird way. It's like watching a hologram of the movie. I even just did a regular video like this, watched one of my videos and just closed one eye because it'd give a double image. And it made me look like a freaking hologram. I mean, it looked like what you're seeing now, but just translucent. So it made me look like a hologram. Which definitely brought out my inner, if I was dead, Star Wars nerd type shit. Otherwise, there's other shit you can mess around with, man. I'm one of those types that just likes to experiment. So, on getting the thing, again, man, thanks to Big Mike, which, if you guys get on his eBay site, naturally everything's a bit more expensive because he got all those stupid fees on eBay. So that's why he's got to jack his prices up a bit. But I got this straight from his store, hence I'm in Kingman, where his store is. And yeah, he had it right at $30, which I was willing to pay $30 for it just to have some cool display piece for my nerdery. But got lucky to where the stuff that I brought in, just a few video games and stuff, just didn't even trade. So no cash involved on this. And like I say, man, you can find them pretty damn cheap online. Just make sure that you find one that's all complete if it's loose. If it's in the box, a little bit better there. Is it's got either 3 little cords for the different types of phones, or maybe 4. That's what you want to make sure it has, because I don't know where the hell you'd find those otherwise. There's just little short cords for plugging your phone into the headset so it can use the cameras on the headset. Otherwise, it's got the one for Apple, and it's got the different phone whatever plug sizes for USB this, USB that, whatever the fuck. They got multiples now, so it makes it that much harder. Otherwise, yeah, make sure it's all complete. And then on the charger, let's see if I can read it. Print on this thing is so goddamn small. Man, it's just tiny. Yeah, I'm getting too much reflection on it. Just your typical cell phone type charger, and then they give you a decent length cord for plugging in the headset and the lightsaber. But I think this is just 5 volt 1 amp. So if this isn't included, you can just go to a store and buy one of these where you can plug it in via USB, and easy enough to find one that's 1 amp or even up to 2 amps. If it's 2 amp, no problem. The more amps, the better. If it's under 1 amp, no, don't do that. That means it's going to have a harder time charging it, and it can mess up the system. So I'm going to say it would just be 1A or milliamps, whatever. It'd either be 1 or 1000, depending on the brand of this. But usually it's 1A for 1 amp, or 2 for 2 amps, or if it's like 2 point something, like 2.2, 2.4, that means, I believe, 2000 milliamps or whatever. It's weird how they do it. Otherwise, yeah, don't get one that's less. On voltage, they're all 5 volt. Everything's still 5 volt now on charging stuff. That seems to be the new thing. They give you this crap now because a lot of stuff needs less electricity when it comes to rechargeable things. You might even have one laying around with some other product, let alone your cell phone. Okay, I do have the cord laying in there. Same, man. Mine's got... Oh, god damn this camera. Not the outright oval shaped ones, but the ones that are like half an oval. I think I only have one thing. Oh, my Oculus. The cord for that has that just flat oval shape. It's got one for that too. And then, like I say, for your Apple iPhones or whatever. So, really don't know what else to tell you about this thing. Otherwise, man, as far as I'm concerned, it's still worth picking up. Now that they got it to where you can put in a custom phone profile if it's not in the list. So, if you got a big freaking ass phone, man, bigger than this, since here's the size of the case, here's the size of my phone, and I still got a little bit of play when it comes to the width and everything, just not thickness. Which this is old enough, man. I'm sure the newer phones, especially Apple stuff's getting a lot thinner. So it won't be so hard to push the thing in. And then on smaller, don't know. It was showing pretty small screen size since, let's see here, turn this back on. Yeah, there's my screen size compared to what they're showing there. You can see it's much bigger. So you shrink it down still. So, say man, got all the apps and stuff for you guys so you don't have to hunt around for them. So have a good one, everybody. And anybody else can, if anybody's experimented on this thing and found anything else it could do, man, let me know. I did find one YouTuber, possibly a YouTuber, some kid way smarter than me when it comes to technology, to where he figured out how they write the apps for this. So he's showing how you can write programs or do programming for this to create your own AR experiences or whatever. He's the only one so far that has found anything on that. Otherwise, you're kind of stuck with what games came with it. So, later.